This episode of Team Harrow is powered by Optimal Wellness Group. Personal plans for longevity and wellness start here. Go to optimalwellnessgroup.net and request your free consultation and save 10% with code Team Harrow. This is Team Harrow, where resilience meets leadership. I'm your host, Ben Harrow, combat veteran, special forces soldier, and entrepreneur. Each week, we dive into powerful stories from high performers who lead, adapt, and overcome. Let's get after it.
All right. 3,
Wow,
2,
I figured he'd have a place in his own house.
1, launch. Mike.
Ben, great to chat with you.
Thanks
for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for coming down and making the time to come on. And welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
I know you're just talking about the studio. We joke around that I share the same broom closet as Sean Hannity, so that's my claim to fame.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, man. I know we've been catching up and telling a lot of like SF stories, waiting for everyone to set up and just catching up. But I'd love for you to kind of dive in and we can keep telling more SF stories and then obviously get into your role now at Project Dynamo, how that was established. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Afghanistan as well, the timing of it being very serendipitous since it was
it's crazy.
Almost 4 years to the day with the withdrawal and then how Project Dynamo kicked off. But let's start with how you found your way into the tribe, as you like to call it, of Special Forces.
Yeah, so it was weird. I can't explain exactly how. I was in ROTC in college, and I was majoring in tequila at the time. And, doing great with the tequila side, but not doing so great with school. And I just was kind of lost, wasn't sure what I was going to do, where I was going to go. And I like shooting guns, and that there was a connection with the ROTC thing, and I heard, and this is how I got in. So I enlisted into the 12th Group way back when it existed, which was an Army Reserve unit, and I came in a system called Rep 63, which is basically the 18 X-ray program.
What time frame is this?
1986.
Okay.
So
Cold War is still going on.
Yeah, and that mentality was still primary. And it's funny because through a guy we're going to talk about probably a lot, Afghanistan John, we're connected to the guy who's now the Sergeant Major of the Army, who went through this same program, and he did a podcast, and he talked about our friend Afghanistan John, and it's the same story. So I was one of very few people who actually made it all the way through. Whatever that number is like 10-15% of us actually survived the whole thing and made it through. And if you think about it, it's hard.
Of the original 18 X-ray program? Or
what
became,
the Rep 63 program.
What became the 18 X-ray program?
Yeah. So they expanded that and brought it into active duty, but this was just for the reserve. But back then, you could enlist and just go through basic training, the AIT portion, jump school, and then go straight to the Q course, which is a lot if you think about somebody coming in off the street not knowing anything.
Yeah.
It's the X-ray program.
And that's pretty recent after the Army made Special Forces an official branch, right?
Actually, it happened while I was in the Q course.
Okay.
SF
wow.
became
all right.
I remember it was like February.
So explain that for people that probably don't understand that SF was never really a branch. It was like a tasking or a detachment.
I'm kind of all over the place here. But so for a long time on the SF officer side, officers had to be infantry branch to get into SF, and then everybody else could leave their MOS from their primary their specialty like logistics or whatever, and then those guys had their own career management field within Special Forces, so they could get promoted within the Special Forces as their primary MOS, but the officers all remained in the infantry branch. And there was a lot of heartache because infantry branch didn't fund SF. They didn't like it. They weren't really interested in having that program. And they transitioned in 1988.
I think because back in the day, and you can probably comment on this better than I can, that SF was almost looked down upon.
Oh, it was. It was looked down almost as ungentlemanly, like, hey, we don't fight that way.
Yeah.
What do you want to go do that? And when I was in OBC, I remember very specifically, and a guy I really respected, but he said something that he was one of the TACs in OBC, Officer Basic Course, the first portion when you're a lieutenant to go through the training. He said, because he wanted me to go to Ranger School, And he said, you got that training tab, or teaching tab. You got the teaching tab. You need to go get the warfighting tab. And I thought, wow, here's a guy who, is totally misunderstanding the culture of what's going on. But that was the prevailing concept back then. Is that
still stuck in this
Yeah, and I love the guy who told me we're connected. I don't want to say his name.
Yeah,
but I love that guy because I learned a lot from him. We're connected. We're still friends. I have the ultimate respect for that guy. But it was a disconnect of understanding. Like that's not what SF is.
Yeah,
SF is not that. And it is a hard thing to grasp. I guess the best way to explain it, and you'll understand it as soon as I say it, is you are in effect implementing U.S. foreign policy on the ground at the tactical level, doing tactical things with strategic and national level impacts. And it's a very, very difficult concept for people to grasp that you are performing a tactical action on the ground right here in this time and space, in this 4-dimensional space.
That has strategic implications.
That you are being tasked to perform by senior levels of the Department of Defense and the U.S. government and the State Department and the intelligence community. And you're meshing all those things together to implement those.
So when people ask me, oh, you're a Green Beret, you're a Special Forces, is it kind of like a Navy SEAL or Army Ranger? And similar to the comparison that you just mentioned, I say, listen, Rangers and SEALs are like checkers masters. They're the best at the game. No one's going to beat them at what they do. Mm-mm. I said Green Berets are more like chess masters, and that's not putting down one game or the other or saying one game is better than the other or one group is better than the other. It's just different games, but we have more pieces that move a little different on the board. It's kind of similar, but it's just a little bit different.
So another way to explain it, maybe, and this is one of the examples I use, only when a mosquito lands on your testicles do you figure out that you should get another tool other than a hammer. Ranger Battalion, amazing dude, a Ranger Regiment, I keep doing that. Back then it was, we were still, there's 2 battalions, but they were still transitioning as a regiment. But they're the hammer.
Yeah.
And the SEALs in my brain, nobody says this, I mean, it's not an actual comparison, but the SEALs are the Ranger Regiment of the Navy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're amazing at what they do. But they're the hammer.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like scalpels and probes and clamps. Like, well, there's all these different tools. And if you think about the U.S. as an entity itself, you have a whole lot of tools of all different kinds. And the Special Forces, the Green Beret guys, they're just a different kind of tool that's more like a Swiss Army knife instead of a hammer.
Yeah. So
all the tools, you have that huge, gigantic Swiss Army knife with the 85 different tools. That's kind of like what it is,
yeah,
I guess.
Exactly.
I can do any. You put me in a spot, I don't need resources. I'll figure out resources.
Yeah.
I'll figure out how to source that.
Yeah.
Just, this is what I need, and just let me go. And that's the most beautiful part. In Army doctrine, we would use the word mission command. You don't have to tell me everything I have to do. Just tell me, here's what I need accomplished. I'll go figure out how.
Give me the end state.
Yeah,
what is your intent? Give
you vision, right?
Yeah.
You look forward into the future. You tell me what you want the future to look like, and I'll get you there.
That's one of the hardest things that I've had to figure out how to translate it in the civilian side of, work and business of, listen, I know it sounds crazy, but you just tell me what you need done.
Yeah.
I'll go get it done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need me to start up a government contracting for an IT cybersecurity company. Got it. I'll figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you need help starting an aircraft management company.
And I'm connected to so many people now.
Yeah.
Like you are.
Yeah.
I'll go find the right guys.
Yep.
I can find the right guys in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I joined the Army. And I'm just going to add one other example. So another guy that I called DHS John, a guy I love dearly. And he just had a huge tragedy. Just know that I'm thinking about you and praying about you if you watch this. So he called me one day and said, hey, do you know any guys in Vietnam? I was like, not right now. What do you need? And he said, I need 15 people for a security detail. And basically in 2 hours, I had 15 people already lined up. 2 guys that were really close by. And it just works that way, that we know people all over the place.
Yeah.
And I know people, like 4 of them were already Vietnamese speakers. Like, it's just how crazy the life that we have, like people can't grasp how quickly you can connect and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Things that normally people take months to do, like we can do in a day. We can connect people in a day and get stuff done. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I went through, it's crazy. My whole life has been this like crazy, weird soap opera kind of story. So I went through basic training, and back then, like the Sergeant Major of the Army told in his story, you didn't go through the infantry training. You went through a regular MOS, so that if you didn't make it through the Special Forces course, you could, like if you're a communicator, radio operator, you learned radio communication operations, thinking that that foundation could eventually help you do that job better because you have this broader understanding of communications. And so I learned how to type. I recycled typing in the Army. Yeah, crazy. I know it sounds ridiculous. And so it was on a teletype machine. And this is from World War II. Crazy to say it this way. It's like people won't even believe it. But the machine would only accept 1 character per second. So you couldn't burst like a regular typewriter.
Like a regular keyboard.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. So it was ding, 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 just like that, at that pace. And it was crazy. So I get through that, and I go to jump school, have a great time. I remember, like, the first jump, I jumped out and did all the things they told me not to do. Like, I'm like, wow, cool. This is awesome. And I watched myself hit the ground, and bam! You hit the ground like a sack of crap. And I bit my tongue, and I got, like, blood all over the place, and blood's all over my uniform. And I take my the reserve and the bag, the D bag with the chute, and get to the turn-in, and the black cat's pissed. I'm doing push-ups. Like, what do I do? And he said, your reserve has blood all over it. Who do you think is going to want to jump a bloody reserve? And I'm like, there's all these crazy things. You know? Like, so I get to Fort Bragg, and I remember the first Green Beret I ever met ended up being a legendary guy from the 10th group, from the I don't even want to talk about their name, but the detachments that were in Berlin. Paulie P.
Okay. Were those the ones that went on the other side in civilian clothes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. First Green Beret I ever met back from at that time.
Yeah. Can you talk about that mission at least? I mean, it's history.
Yeah. So they actually were kind of like James Bond kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
So they would put on, and they didn't have like an unlimited, like nobody's driving Aston Martins, but they did go through with fake documents and infiltrate into East Berlin and collect information and perform acts we would now call clandestine operations. And again, we're talking freeform. So difference between clandestine and covert. Clandestine is I was somewhere and nobody could figure out that I was even there. There's no trace. There's no evidence. Covert is kind of like I dress up like your cable guy to go into your house and pretend to fix a cable problem, and then I do whatever I need to do in your house, and then I leave. And the whole time, you thought it was the cable guy that was your house. So they did a mix of covert and clandestine operations, and they had cover stories and cover documents, the whole thing. And it's an amazing history, and it's way too long to try to hatch out now. But legendary guy, Paul B. Very, very well respected guy. I was like, hey, I got no idea where I'm at, have no idea where I'm going, where am I supposed to go as a student? And so he said, you know what, just follow me. And he drove, and I followed him so I could get to the right place. Like, just at the very beginning, I'm like, wow, these people are totally different than the rest of the Army.
Yeah, no one's yelling at you yet.
Yeah, and just that, they're solvers, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's solving the problem. Somebody's helping me solve the problem. They're not saying, get back on that street, go down 4 miles and turn left. That wasn't, it was like, follow me.
Yeah.
Like the first guy was like, follow me. It was awesome. And I remember that to this day, that was 12 June 1987, that I can remember that.
Yeah.
Tells you it was monumental to me, because it still sticks with me. And then I went through AMIC twice, Advanced International Morse Code, and I failed every single retest of Morse code. It was very stressful, very difficult. And then I recycled Morse code. And you needed to achieve 13 groups a minute, or groups 5 characters. So you need to send whatever that math is now. My brain won't do it that fast anymore. But 13
you,
groups a minute to go to phase 1 to training. And a lot of people washed out and then became other MOSs. So they didn't kick you out. You just became a different MOS if you couldn't. Because Morse code, was kind of like learning a language.
Yeah, of course.
So
do
it's
you
auditory.
do you think that you could still do Morse code or pick up a little bit of it?
I can probably do 5 characters now, but I know if I within a few hours.
Like it's just like a language that you used to know. Yeah, once you get back into it.
Yeah, and it's all auditory. So So stubby pencil, it's not a typewriter. Like pencil on paper, because I recycled, so I did 16 straight weeks of Morse code instead of 8 like everybody else. Lost a little bit of my sanity. And there's an interesting story to tell with that. But my final Morse code speed was 25-22. You can ask anybody. That's at the threshold that the equipment can operate. And I basically dominated and mastered Morse code. So 2 interesting stories. I remember for the people who had already managed to skyrocket to upper level speeds in the 20s, because all you needed was 13, we got segregated and they did all this other training for us. So there was one day where we were listening to Morse code at 15 groups a minute for like an hour. Very steady, very easy to copy. It's odd, it's weird. Some numbers, like 13's a hard number to copy because the number of characters doesn't match the time. It sounds weird to say it that way, but 15 fits smoothly per minute. So copying 15 the next hour, because we get it was either 5 or 10 minute break every hour. So the next hour they started 15 again, and then a different part of the room they started a tape recorder at 5 groups a minute, and then in another part of the room they started a tape recorder at 7, and then 10, and then 13 and 18 and 22 and 25. And then they piped in rock music and classical music and country music. And all that sound, that roar, copying 15 out of all of that trash. And copying 15.
So all that background noise, and you trying to so focus on...
You can pull it in with your ear.
Yeah.
And it became... You learned, or I learned, and those of us who were in that advanced part, learned how in your brain to separate all that sound and just pull in the sound that you needed to hear.
Yeah.
And that resulted in this one time we were doing the Comex. And okay, so I was a young kid, right? And I didn't really understand everything. And somebody accused me of trying to screw them over. And a guy I do respect. And if you're listening, I still feel guilty about this, okay? I can't remember his first name. His last name begins with H. If you're hearing this, just know after all this ridiculous time, I still feel guilty about this. So he accused me of being a buddy fucker because I didn't help as he was getting ready to do his combo shot. So he has to wait. So the 15 minutes is when the first 15 minutes at the top of the hour is when you would collect your information to know when you transmit in the other 3 parts of the hour, because it's 15, 15, 15, 15. Mm-hmm. And so he and another guy were plugged into the radio. So radio has 2 mic plugs, or 2 headphone plugs. They're both plugged in. And they're trying to copy the message to get the information so he knows. And I don't want to go into details, but it gives him the information of when he's supposed to send and how he's supposed to send it. I'm not even plugged into headphones. I'm probably 25, 30 feet away, sitting with my back to a tree. And off of the bleed off of their headphones, I copy the entire 120 group call up. Perfect. No gaps, no errors, no headphones off of their bleed off, and they couldn't copy the message. And I'm not saying I'm special or anything. I'm just saying
that's how good you were.
I was trained. They trained me to do that,
yeah.
And I was good at that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to pull that whole message, and I stayed there and made sure that he got his combo shot and everything was good. And that he was successful, and we made sure. And I still feel guilty about he thought that I was trying to do that.
When you were going through the Q course back in the day, did you guys also have Robin Sage?
Yeah, so we did. And then we went through phase 1, and I fell off of this obstacle called the Whopper. Mm-hmm. And back then, you had to climb up. This obstacle is about 25, 30 feet in the air. It's a horizontal telephone pole with a rope tied to it. So you got to climb up the rope, pull yourself up on top of the log, walk across the top of the log, and then lower yourself down to another rope, and then like a commando crawl to a steel rung ladder, and then walk across the rungs, not touching the sides, but only walking on the rungs, and then get to another rope and then climb down. It was a very, very complex obstacle, very difficult. And as I was pulling myself up, it was cold, it was icy, there was ice in the gaps in the tree because there's finger holes, not finger holes, but like where the wood's worked out.
Yeah.
Because so many people
Have been grabbing it.
And it was iced, and I slipped and fell, 25 feet, landed on my back, hurt my shoulder. But the second time I went through fine. It was okay. Everything was all right. And then I made it through the Robin Sage, which we sometimes jokingly refer to as sobbing rage, and graduated, and was cocky and thought I could conquer the world, and I was bulletproof. I thought I was bulletproof for a really long time, only to discover later on that we aren't, right?
Yeah.
But in your brain, it's great because you think, wow, there's nothing I can't do, which is a really good thing to have in your brain. Like, I can solve problems. I just tell me what you need done, and I'll go figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you want all those guys to think. And you want them to have that mental impression that
confidence.
There's nothing that's going to get in your way. Like, I can do anything you ask me to do. And I know I still have training to do. I know I still need to understand a whole lot more. I just finished basic training for Green Berets. But it's the mental attitude you have that there's nothing I can't do. You set me with the right group of people, and we can accomplish whatever it is that you want us to accomplish.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you got to group and you went to 12th group, you said?
Yeah.
It's funny. I met an older guy in the airport one time, and he saw me with no legs, and we started talking.
You know that's what people call you, right? No legs, Ben.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So anyway, we start talking, and I'm like, yeah, and I was in the military. He's like, oh, what'd you do? I was like, I was in the Army. I was an SF guy. He's like, oh, so was I. And he's like much older, so I'm thinking like Vietnam time frame. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like what group? And I was in 7th group. What group are you in? And he said 8th group. And I was like, wow, 8th group. And so I walked away. I was like, 8th group? Is this like stolen? Did this guy just make it up? Is this stolen valor?
No, those are. Yeah.
So I didn't say anything, but then I Google, and it, like 8th Special Forces Group was like a Vietnam, El Salvador type time frame, and I was like, holy shit, this guy was like a walking legend.
A lot of those guys got absorbed by the agency too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd imagine for everything that they've
gone
and done. Yeah, and
just
seen.
Because of what the programs that they were.
Oh yeah.
That they joined and they helped with.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys got absorbed by that.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know when Ground Branch started, but I know those guys ended up in whatever became Ground Branch.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get to 12th group. Where does Uncle Sam take you?
So my first trip was to Korea. Had a great time, learned a lot, great stuff.
Was that what was your language, or did you guys have to do?
So there was no language school back then,
okay.
But our language back then, I guess we can talk about it, was supposed to be Russian.
Yeah.
And it was the most ridiculous thing. So I'm at Fort Bliss. Almost everybody on my team's a Latino, speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
Where are we supposed to go?
Yeah.
We're supposed to go decommission part of the 120-mile stretch of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. An impossible mission, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna find us in a week.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide. There's nothing to eat.
So that's your mission basically. Like if the Cold War kicks off, this is what you're supposed to go do.
Yeah, we're not even gonna get in.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna get there. I remember. I guess it's all old.
What was your info plan to get into Siberia?
Yeah, I can't. That's stuff that we don't talk about.
Okay.
But Lake Baikal, look up Lake Baikal. Like, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
You're not taking a bunch of Mexican guys that look like, well, not Mexicans, they were Americans, right? But you're not taking a bunch of Latinos who are brown skinned and speak perfect Spanish.
Yeah.
You're not hiding them in the Lake Baikal area. That's not working out for you. And you can think that all you want.
Yeah, it briefs really well.
Yeah,
but
it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have all these missions down south, and that team was perfect, and just never. It was the way Army worked back then.
Yeah,
and it's because there was no SF branch, and because there was
that's right.
National Guard
there
system.
Was no JSOC. There was no
SOCOM.
There was no SF branch.
There was no USASOC.
Yeah,
it had still not formed, and the Reserve Guard groups were under USACAPOC, U.S. Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command.
Okay.
So they didn't belong to SF. They were in CA and PSYOPs. Didn't even belong. And so obviously those guys aren't interested in in implementing us.
Yeah. So
The
you go
whole
to
time.
Korea. Where else do you end up going?
We did a few JTF-6 missions, which was great. Back then it's
Is that going down
JTF
south?
North. So we're on the border.
Okay.
We're operating inside the United States, and some of them were really good missions.
So what now is Northern Command? Or,
So
SOC North.
within Northcom, and I don't know that Northcom existed back then, but within that framework, there's now a command task force called JTF North. I believe it's still there, and JTF North that's what became of JTF 6, so it was a joint task force, and it brought in a bunch of people within the military, not just Green Beret guys, but a bunch of people in the military to assist. Now we call it JIM, Joint Interagency whatever the JIM acronym, I don't remember now, to help other government agencies perform, to help plan and train or predict. We did a lot of stuff with Borstar and Bortak. Consequently, made a lot of friends at Bortak. And one of my great friends, another guy I absolutely respect, Brad G, learned a lot from him and a bunch of others.
Bortak being what?
So it's the tactical operations group of the Border Patrol.
Okay.
And they are kind of like
I'm sure
the Rangers, the Ranger element of the Border Patrol, the CBP. Like they have the mission, if they still, well, they used to, I don't know if they still do, but they have the mission to do close security for all the the senior level people in DHS. That's who does their security. Amazing group of guys, and probably shouldn't talk too much more about what they do because that's all their stuff.
Yeah,
it's their story to tell. But amazing guys at Bortak. Another guy that I'm connected to, and he won't mind me talking about him, Vince Vargas. I'm connected to Vince Vargas loosely. Amazing guy, came from Ranger Regiment, and was in either Borstar or Bortak. Very well connected in that group, and he still does a lot of great work for them. Awesome guy. I love Vince.
So later on in your career, you end up going to third group?
So that's like way down the line. So whatever reason, God does weird things to us to get us to go. Like you can resist gravity, but gravity wins every single time. Like there's just no winning, right?
Yeah.
So I came up different times on 3 different car accidents where we ended up saving people. One of them I got a soldier's medal out of, pulled 2 people out of a burning car. And so the 12 group guys said, hey, why don't you go reclass as a medic? This has happened to you enough times, and you good at whatever this is that you're doing. You're pretty good at it. So I was basically on active duty for 3 years. I went through the SF medic course, met a lot of legendary guys there. So there used to be a unit in JSOC called the Joint Medical Augmentation Unit. So it's not an augmentation unit now, but they are a medical unit that supports the JSOC side.
Yeah.
And I went through the Q course with 3 of the guys who were the trauma surgeons for that unit, which is, again, crazy. I'm not saying I was anybody special.
Yeah.
I was always, and to clarify, I was just average. I was just an average Green Beret guy. I was nobody special. Within our tribe, we all know guys who are the .001 guys. I was never anywhere close to that. Nowhere. But for whatever reason, I was connected to these guys. It was just amazing. I had an amazing career. I was so fortunate. So I did that. And then finally made it through, recycled just about as many times as you can recycle the SF medic course and still graduate. So we did the first year here at, actually there because I live in San Antonio. So it was called 300 F1. It was the first portion of the medic course. And most of it really mirrored the PA course, the Army PA course. Our books were the Army PA books. That's what we learned from. And our trauma was a little different for obvious reasons because we're doing primary surveys and secondary surveys. Like you're the first guy on a patient that's messed up. What is it that you do? And the PAs did some of that, but not quite because they're working in a more clinical setting and we're more focused on a field setting, right?
Yeah, it's more austere.
Yeah. And I think now we call that a role 2 or a 2+ where the PAs are and we're role 1. We're on the ground. We can function across all those spheres, all those roles. And I did that again. Met a bunch of great guys, and I get to finally have an avenue to acknowledge and recognize all these people. So I went through the medic course, and then I did medic coverage for the pre-SFAS course for the Guard Reserve people who were doing SFAS. And then they sent me to language school with an eye of me being one of the, it sounds weird to say it, and it's probably impossible to validate now, but the thought was that I would go be part of medical support for Task Force Ranger that were going into Somalia, because I went through language school as part of that prep. And I
so this is like 93, 92 time frame?
93. Yeah. It was when I finished, January 93.
Okay.
And language school wasn't as much fun as it makes it out to be, but I learned Arabic, and I was a 1+ Arabic speaker in 6 months, which is pretty good. If you think about, and that doesn't mean very much to anybody else, but within our sphere, 1+ in Arabic in 6 months is pretty. It's a pretty good. A 2.2 would probably be the maximum you could ever hope to get. Very few people got a 2. Very, very few people. So I did okay. And then for whatever reason, something in my brain, again, gravity, God telling us where to go and what to do. Just I got off active duty because it was the timing was, I believe, 8 years at that point, 93 from 6. So no, it's not 8 years, but I had the option to not continue. Mm-hmm. And I carried a lot of grief about that for a long time. That what could I have done if I had been on the ground with the Rangers as one of their medics? You know? And I could also be dead, right? There's no way to. And so I finally had to deal with all that, but carried that around for a long time. But after everything happened, the results of that, of the event of Gothic Serpent, I felt a lot of guilt, and I looked at that and thought, wow, there's probably, and then my friend Jay, at a very similar point in time, was one of the teams that advised the ATF about the Branch Davidian debacle that they were part of. No need to go into great details, but I'd always thought of myself as a solution to a problem instead of somebody who just complained. Like, nobody wants to hear you complain, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can complain. Nobody wants to hear it. But what are you doing to solve the problem?
Yeah.
And so I went back into ROTC. That was a rough ride as already being an SF guy and a commo guy and a medic, and going and listening to a bunch of 4.5-year captains, 5-year captains trying to tell me how to do a patrol or how to build a patrol base. Yeah, it was pretty miserable. Having done it and lived it, right, and doing stuff, and then whatever. It was just difficult, and it was college combined, and I wasn't great at it. And I just remember one day I woke up and it was time to graduate. And I was working like 2 jobs and trying to pay my way through, and bad planning, and didn't have my crap together. But I made it. Okay, so then I went to be a lieutenant with the goal of being an 18 Alpha. And I had a difficult time as a lieutenant, same problems. And one of the problems that I had was I decided that I wasn't going to go to Ranger School, which is very scandalous in the infantry. And I recognize even now there's a lot of people who won't grasp, like, why wouldn't you go to Ranger School? And it's not like Ranger School was a threat to me. I wasn't scared to go. It wasn't that. But I was very concerned about getting injured, because my end goal of being the 18 Alpha, and I was in my 30s at the time, there's actually a really good likelihood that I would be injured in some way that would prevent me from continuing, from being physically capable of being accepted to the Q course again.
So I was going to say, so would you have to you would have to
do the whole thing.
So you went through, so you would have to redo the entire Q course again, but now as an 18 Alpha instead of an enlisted guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a fairly big concern, because 8 weeks of Ranger School, or whatever it would be,
it's going to break you.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Especially in your 30s.
Yeah.
When I went through Ranger School as a young, out of college, just finished IOBC, second lieutenant, right? There was a guy from the captain's career course that had got recycled. No, when I got recycled, I joined his class, and he was 38 years old. and mountains broke him. I mean, he went from being quasi healthy from when I got inserted and they had finished a bedding phase and Darby, and we went to mountains together. And I remember towards the end of mountains, he just turned into like a concentration camp victim. Like he was like lost 20 pounds, constantly had like a runny nose, just looked sickly. Yeah.
So, and to clarify, physically I was okay.
Yeah.
Like my average time to do a 12-mile road march, and this isn't with the EIB packing list, like basically a 15-pound pack.
Yeah.
This was a 60-pound ruck.
Yeah.
And my normal time was 2 hours to do a 12-mile road march. So I'm fit. Like I can do it. But I'm really, really concerned about getting injured and then having to spend the rest of my career in the infantry. Because I can already see I'm the puzzle piece that does not fit in this puzzle. I'm not fitting in with these guys. So I get through all that, and I actually had to go see the regimental commander, not just the company commander, battalion commander, and regimental commander, and explain myself as to why I was a non-voluntary, or I was, whatever word they used, to not go to Ranger School. And they looked at me like with the pig looking at a wristwatch expression, like, what? You're an infantry officer and you're not going to go to Ranger School? I was like, no. And this is why. And I'm not staying in your infantry. It's not my plan. It's not why I came here. I've already been through the Q course, and they would look at me like, oh, okay. And then that was it. That was all it took was, oh, okay.
Well, you had your special forces.
Yeah,
tab, right?
I already had the
SF qualified.
Yeah, and as soon as because nobody was telling them any of that, right? And so it was like I was a blasphemer, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they look, oh, okay, well now I understand.
Yeah.
All right. And then they were okay with it, like, yeah, okay, because I'm not staying.
Yeah.
I'm not sticking with them.
So when did you get back to group?
Sorry, I'm telling you my whole damn career.
We don't need to go through your entire.
No, you're right. So I was actually in the 18 Alpha course, and the injury I got from the desert carried over. I got surgerized and lost a third of the range of motion of my right foot. I got reclassed to be an intel guy in August of 2001, and I got to Fort Huachuca just a little before.
Wow, August of 2001. Okay.
Yeah, just before 9/11. And because of all the stuff that I already done, infantry advanced course and SF and all that crap that I did in my career, I got sent to Egypt for a year to the Sinai Task Force, which ended up being a very critical piece of experience for me. So I spent a year in Sinai, learning everything about the Sinai, which is a group that monitors the treaty between Israel and Egypt. Mm-hmm. Made friends with everybody, still friends with guys there. Yaron is he's an Israeli, and he one of the head security guys and a liaison guy. And I worked with him during this last evacuation in Israel to evacuate people, and he was instrumental. And then the people that I met there. So I did that for a year. Then I went to third group, and I was an intel guy with no intel training. So I had. Let
me ask you something. As an intel guy at third group, but you're special forces qualified, do you still have a green? So do you wear a green beret and everything, even though you're not an 18 series?
Yeah, but I think I was wearing mostly a PC, and almost everybody was wearing patrol caps. And did I have it?
Well, I was just saying it's an interesting dynamic that you're an old school 18 series guy, special forces qualified.
Yeah, so I was actually supposed to go to group and work in the group intel shop.
Okay.
So I could understand what being an intel officer was, because I had no idea. I had zero intel training, because I literally got to Fort Huachuca and got deployed because of 9/11. No intel training, which is the Army that I remember.
Yeah.
If you think about that.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea what I was doing. Very openly, very candid about it. No idea.
So when you deployed during the GWAT, did you end up going to Afghanistan? Because you said you were with third group, right?
So we did OIF 1. And did OIF 1, and that was interesting.
Where did you go?
So we were in the north. We were in the north with Siege of Sodif North. So what happened is 10th Group was the Siege of Sodif North, and the UCOM commander would not release the first battalion of 10th Group to go be part of the mission for whatever reason. Don't care, but third battalion, 3rd Group left Afghanistan early to go back, retrain and refit. and then prepare for OIF-1.
Yeah, because they went into Iraq.
Yeah.
Like, what was it, Viking Hammer or whatever that was? Yeah.
Yeah, with now General Cleveland.
Yeah.
A guy who, that's another interesting story.
And Tovo, wasn't Tovo another?
Tovo was one of the battalion commanders.
Yeah.
General Tovo.
I remember all this from that book, Masters of Chaos.
Yeah.
I think was the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. Very, very, I have a great amount of respect for General Tovo. Awesome. And so Sergeant Major was Chris Zetz, legendary guy, amazing guy. Everybody knows Chris Zetz.
He didn't end up taking 7th Group as Sergeant Major. I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him as well.
Yeah. Chris is...
I was actually just talking to another 7th Group buddy of mine who I had on here, Alex Hooper.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about Sergeant Major Zetz. He's another SF legend. That's the thing, is that I feel, and we were talking about this before, you feel so humbled and lucky being in this community to walk down the hallway and know that these guys are, were working in the same office. They're wearing the same uniform as you.
Yeah.
Like, you're on the same team, and these guys are just legends in the community.
Yeah, I think we have to come back to maybe do a different one. I want to talk about Dynamo. We got to get there.
Yeah.
But there's all these SF guys that I'd love to talk about. But Chris Zetz is in a class of people, and our battalion warrant was Doug Frank, legendary in the community as well. And these are the kind of guys where if you just shut up, just shut your mouth and listen, you're going to learn something every single time they talk.
Yeah.
Just shut up and let them talk.
Yeah.
And learn. There's no way you don't learn. And he and I know a lot of the same people in common. A guy we'll refer to as Booger, we're close friends with.
So what was Afghanistan like in OEF-1?
So that was total chaos for me. So when I went into to Iraq, I think I had 6 or 7 analysts, senior guys that got held over. Amazing work. Doug B from 3rd Group, he was a start first class, but he was in an E8 slot, Master Sergeant slot as the 2 operations guy. Just functioned like a perfect machine. And then we came back from Iraq, and all those guys left. And I got 3 brand new privates and 1 staff sergeant, and that's what I went to Afghanistan with. And I got beat to crap. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't have anybody. Like, I performed collection plans, but I'd never written one.
Yeah.
Writing a collection plan is a lot different than performing the collection. Had a very difficult time. Was not excelling. Was having a very difficult time. And our battalion commander was beating the crap out of me every day. So much so that Fred Dumar one day put in a drop cloth under my chair to collect all the blood. And he put a body armor on the chair to let me know just how bad things were. And I don't know that anybody could have performed for this guy. It didn't matter who it was. This guy was it was really, really difficult guy to get along with and work for. Then after that, I went to Colombia as a military advisor. Spent a year there in Colombia, in a place first off in a place called La Rondia with Task Force Omega. Great opportunity. And then my boss Eric made me the advisory chief.
You went down to Colombia as a 3rd Group guy?
No. So I'd already left 3rd Group then.
So you're
after Afghanistan, I then went to Fort Bliss. I did command at Fort Bliss, which is weird because I had 3, I guess now what we would call branch qualifying or key developmental jobs. As a captain, I did 3. I was a Task Force 2 in Sinai, and then I was an S2 in a Special Forces battalion, and then I did a company command.
So you're in Colombia.
So I'm all over the place.
You're in Colombia as a civilian in the military.
I was an 04, I was like a major.
Okay, you're a major.
And I was a military advisor.
Okay.
As part of a program called the PAT, Planning and Training Assistant Team through SATMO.
What time frame is this?
0506.
Okay. So the fighting with the FARC is still hot and heavy?
Oh, yeah.
Was this around the same time frame when the Red Cross volunteers got taken? Or weren't there?
It was earlier,
Okay.
and I had the special task force guys show up in Villavicencio, where I was at with the 4th Division, because they had good, solid intel as to where those guys were, and they were going to use me and my spot as their whatever the word that we would call it a mission support site.
Yeah.
Or even depends on how much stuff you bring in. It's going to be a forward operating base, right? But it's definitely a mission support site. So they're going to bring in their birds and everything to go in and get the 3 contractors. And something happened. Political decision didn't happen. Colombians did a great job of getting those guys out. Amazing work. And some of the people that I know were part of that. It was just an amazing experience. And then I went to Spain after that. So if you do the numbers, I was gone almost 5 straight years. 52 out of 60 months, I was either deployed or in command. And I was very crispy on the edges. And the Army sent me to live in Spain for 3.5 years. Yeah,
right?
Valencia. It was a great, great experience. And did not set the world on fire there because my brain was all scrambled. But I learned how to be an intel guy when I was there. And I'm eternally grateful to all my friends that I made. Jerome, who's a French Sergeant Major, who helped me, and Tom, American senior NCO, who helped me learn the intel trade, and just all the guys in the 2 shop there. That's where I learned to be an intel guy. That's where I learned to understand intel collection and fusion and all the pieces that go into being an intel guy. That's where I became an intel professional. It was a great opportunity and a great time.
So you have all this background and training, all this world experience.
Get out. So I ended up my last 2 years. Okay, we're going to fast forward now. I'm sorry, I just keep doing this.
That's all right.
Last 2 years in the Army, I was at Army North, working the Mexico mission, working intelligence with the Mexican Army. Great, amazing experience. I love Mexico, and I was in Mexico almost every weekend as a kid with my parents, my grandparents. Love Mexico. Had a great experience there. Got out of the Army 2012. Went to Afghanistan as a contractor. More experience working with things that end up helping me be a better Dynamo guy.
So let's talk about Afghanistan and Dynamo. Talk me through.
I'm all over the place. Yeah.
Let's start with and talk me through.
So my best friends in
fall of Afghanistan.
My best friends in Afghanistan. And I know he's doing work that we can't talk about. We're going to refer to that guy as Afghanistan John. Okay. Because that's still how I call him. He's been one of my best friends since I joined the Army 10 or 12 June 1986. And he's doing stuff there, and Afghanistan starts to come apart, and we have a plan internally, me and him, about how maybe we can repair things. So you
guys have a plan of how you can repair things after the U.S. government pulls out?
No, this is before. Okay. So the Afghan government's lost control of 4 of, I guess, 8 border crossings.
Okay.
And Taliban is just streaming in. They're all of a sudden from Pakistan, and also on the Iran side, and also all the way around in the north too. And so they're starting to collect all the taxes instead of the taxes going to the government and being deposited in French bank accounts or whatever they're doing with it. The Taliban's buying weapons and ammo. Mm-hmm. And so kind of what really happened is the people at the upper level all had their golden parachute because they can see the future.
Yeah.
And then the mid-level commanders, they didn't have a golden parachute, but they could see everything was starting to come apart. And they started selling food and ammo to the Taliban to get enough money so they could get out. And then all the guys at the bottom, there's no ammo or food for any of the Afghans, the ANA, the Afghan National Army, or the Afghan National Police. And I'm sure this will not be a surprise to you. It's probably similar when you were there, but when you have 4 magazines and you have 10 rounds of ammunition, you're probably not putting up a very good fight against no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Because you can be a perfect marksman, I could hit every single person, but if I only have 10 rounds, probably not going to be too effective. And so it was very predictable what was going to happen. So on 15 August, he said, hey, I want out of this place. My friend Afghanistan, John. And we've been talking for a while, and it finally gets this spot. Sorry for that.
No, you're good.
And so I start texting everybody in the world that I know. What can we do how do we get this guy out? What can we do? How can we connect? And my friend Rob, whose girlfriend worked as a civilian at JSOC, we started connecting with that guy and the people they connected us with. And then Jim G, Captain Kirk, I told him what I was doing. This was all on 15 August. We're going to get this guy out. And if you know anything or know anybody, I really could use the help. We need to get this guy out of there. And he could have gotten out because he was like he could have gotten out when all the Americans were getting out from the embassy.
Yeah.
I'd connected him to my friend Ishmael, who was part of the embassy security. Could have gotten him out then, but he just said, no, I'm staying with my guys. And it was going to be the Alamo. He sent me a picture of 2 Vickers machine guns. And I like, wow, a Vickers machine gun. I hadn't seen any, like World War I. And it was funny because one of them was the airplane version, because it has the cooling fins and the special cycle so it doesn't shoot the propeller. And he was like, oh, gonna be the Alamo. It's gonna stop right here.
So he was ready to fight and die in place?
And die in place with all of his guys, and his guys melted
His guys
in.
being the Afghans.
Yeah, we can't talk too much about that piece. But
Okay.
they melted into the woodwork. They all left him.
Yeah.
And he said, fuck this place. If they're gonna desert me, fuck them.
Yeah.
And that was on 15 August. And I started trying to get him out then. And started texting, and we started forming groups. And I connected to Scott Mann's group. We didn't know it at the time. Like he wasn't Pineapple then, right?
Yeah.
But all of us, we were in like 25, 30 different groups. And texting day and night and all kinds of craziness, and getting PID, positive identification packets, passports, current photos, data, information, all the family members, medical information, all that stuff, right, to get people out. And they just couldn't figure out how to get through into the airport. So the people on the inside who were filling manifests on planes to get people out of Afghanistan, filling seats in the planes, they're a completely different organization from the people doing the outer security, controlling the...
So there was no communication from the inside to the outside of people?
No. So starting on the 15th, on the 18th, 4 days, we had organized 209 people, families, little kids, whole families, 209 people on 2 buses with 4 escort vehicles, and my friend Afghanistan John and his guy, the couple of people that he knew that he was connected to, and got him. And we were talking earlier, it didn't really hit me how fucked up things were until I started building the route for him to get from his compound to get to the airport with all the call outs. And I thought, wow, I'm doing this in my kitchen at whatever time it is, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, doing my day job, and I'm trying to do this at night, and and I'm doing this in my kitchen. This is how do we get here where this is happening?
I thought
like
the same
here,
thing.
man.
So I don't know if you know this, but that's originally how I got connected, or I knew about Project Dynamo, was because I work in the aviation space.
Yeah.
When this all went down, being a former SF guy and working in the aviation space, I got hit up by so many people of, can you help us find planes to move people out of Afghanistan? So at night, during the day, I'm doing my day job and following the news of everything that's going on. And then come like the night cycle, I'm on like 7 different signal chats of...
Probably Wicker Me then. Wicker Me went offline, but you're probably in Wicker Me then.
Yeah, I was on Wicker as well.
Yeah.
And all these different chats of, hey... I'd get introduced to somebody in one chat and they say, hey, I'm going to start another chat and we're going to bring in these other people in and you have no idea. I remember doing, and not to make this political, but it just happened to be that of the administration that was at time, I got a phone call and I got put on a conference call with a woman that identified herself as the former chief of staff for Cuomo from New York State. And it just made it seem like it was a very like democratic, hey, we need to like step in and kind of unfuck what has happened. And I remember thinking, how did we get here? Where it's like a scramble from everybody, like just everybody, Democrat, Republican, but it just really stuck out. Like the Democrats were trying to unfuck what the current administration had like allowed to happen.
And I want to add, none of us care about anybody's political affiliation.
Absolutely.
Disinterested 100%.
Yeah.
I'm an American first.
Yeah.
Every single time, every single day, I'm an American first. And it doesn't matter who you are, I'm going to go get you.
Yeah.
And if I have to crawl into a burning building to get you, I'm coming. I don't care. None of that matters to me. You're still an American. We're the same team. I'm coming. You need me, I'm there.
Absolutely.
And that was our so same thing. Like, I was on these chats, and I have I can't remember it all. Like, there was very little sleep from the 15th through the 30th when it ended, there's a lot of really horrific stuff that happened. That, like, they flew in a bunch of Taliban from Pakistan, and a lot of people don't recognize or don't grasp, and I totally understand why, but the name Taliban just means student.
Yeah.
And there's all these different flavors of Taliban. So the guys who ended up taking over the government, they flew in all their Pakistan students from Pakistan and studying in the madrasas, and they flew them into Bagram, where we left all our buses, where we shut down the whole base, almost like it was a plan, so they could land a plane there and get their guys on buses, almost like it was a plan, and drove all those guys to Kabul. And there was literally Taliban on every street corner. And I don't care what anybody says, I know 100% that they were protecting Americans. And my friend,
The Taliban were protecting Americans?
Yeah. And my friend, Afghanistan John, was protected by that Taliban from bad guy Taliban.
Yeah.
Who they didn't know who he was.
Let's clarify. A lot of people don't understand that the Taliban is the general term
for all those.
But it's like gangs. There's different sects.
And some of them are tribal too. Like, for whatever reason, nobody likes the Hazaras. Like, I never had any problems with the Hazaras, but most of those Taliban guys. I think that goes
back to the Genghis Khan time.
The Genghis Khan time and the Bamiyan, all the Buddhists and whatever. I no reason to get into that, but just like you said, they're gangs, and some of it's a tribal affiliation. And another thing to add, which is the weirdest thing of all, is the Taliban is kind of like a democratic little enclave. So you elect a leader, the Taliban leader is elected from among the group that they're following.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. And so they're on every street corner in Kabul protecting the Americans. They're actually keeping the treaty that they made with the previous president at the time, who had negotiated a treaty that you're not going to harm any Americans. I don't care what you do in Afghanistan. That's a political decision outside of my realm, but we need an agreement that you're not going to attack Americans. And they actually upheld that agreement. And I know that 100% without any question.
So then the bombing at Abbey Gate.
Everybody knew who they were looking for. I remember getting the messaging in like 5-6 different groups and then sharing it with everybody else. Here's who we're looking for. So this car, this is the bolo, this is the person that we're looking for. They knew exactly who it was. And there's very emotional testimony by a Marine who had that guy in his sights and was ready to smoke him. And I would have just said, screw it, I'm going to shoot the guy. We'd probably be the same because we're trained to do that.
Yeah.
But the Marines are trained as good Marines to follow orders. And that's what we need them to do. He's got tremendous guilt, but that's what he was trained to do. And if he's listening, I personally think you did your job the way you were trained and supposed to do it. He's a great Marine, and he did what he needed to do. But they knew exactly who they were looking for up until that, and it all runs together for me. I can't remember timings, but I remember the guy who was the commander on the ground who recently got promoted to general officer, the 82nd commander.
From that infamous photo from the night vision goggles, him the last one on the plane.
Yeah. So I try not to talk about people I don't know personally.
Yeah.
But this I know happened. And this is very traumatic for me even now. So there were 4 buses. I remember it. There were 4 buses that got through the gate. We had some of the guys that we had manifested on because they were to Kandak. The first 2 buses were Kandak. And the 3rd bus was a bus from a girls' school, and the 4th bus was a bus of orphans. And they got through the gate, and that commander turned those 4 buses around and sent them back out into the hands of the Taliban. And you can say lots of stuff about that. Like, Kandak, should they have been fighting for their country? It's their country. They should have been fighting for it. I don't have anything to say about that. But when you send a bus of girls from a girls' school and a bus of orphans and place them in the hands of the Taliban, which is what he did, yeah, that's an ethical moral lapse. I don't care what the commander-in-chief tells me to do. I don't care what my wife tells me to do. I don't care what anybody tells me to do. I'm not doing that. and I'm going to violate that order, and there's lots of ways I can violate that order and nobody knows about it. There's lots of ways I can do that. I know that happened. There's a lot of people who are probably listening to this who know that happened. And there's a lot of people who are unaware of it. That guy, for me, should not have been promoted to general. I don't care who hears me. I don't care. Do not care. Totally immoral and unethical decision. Yeah, it's still traumatic for me just to think about what happened. What could have happened to a bus from a girls' school?
Yeah. Wow. So Afghan John, who I believe I met when I first met you.
Yeah.
You obviously got him out because I met him. When did you get him out on the 15th, you said?
No, we got him to the gate on the night of the 18th, morning of the 19th. That's a travesty in and of itself. So we get him there, he can't get into the gate.
Even as an American.
They'll let him through because he's got a CAT card.
Yeah.
But nobody else. Even though all their PID packets and seats have been manifested, nobody can figure out how to get him through the gate. And he gets into a gunfight, and I'm listening to him scream at me from the other side of the globe. That's something I don't ever want to have to deal with again. And it sounds ridiculous to say it, but if you're in a gunfight, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can move around, you can maneuver, I can help the wounded, I can pull people back, I can reload for you, I can return, all those things, right? But I'm listening to him over the phone in a gunfight, screaming from the other side of the globe. I don't ever want to have to do that again.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
No.
But it's normal. I need to be able to show emotion, and then when it's time to show an emotion, right?
Yeah.
So he disappears for 3 days. No idea whether he's alive or dead. And the guy that I'll refer to as one of my Hall of Justice guys in my team, the group of people I'm associated with, we refer to him as our cyber friend. Day 3, he's been looking for my friend through his IMEI number. This dude's a fucking wizard.
His what?
In everybody's cell phone, there's a number IMEI,
mm-hmm.
which is specific to each phone.
Sure, it's like a serial number on the.
And he finds a cell phone hit for my friend, and I know he's alive. Well, I know somebody's alive. I know somebody's got his phone using it.
Yeah.
And he came up for air on day 3. And he started getting people together, and he had to do the duck and cover and run and hide to get back to his compound. And that's when the Taliban started protecting him. So the bad guys had flowed in from the borders of Western Afghanistan, mm-hmm. And the north, and started getting to Kabul. Mm-hmm. And they start going street by street. And the Taliban from Pakistan who had come over, they're not letting these guys through into the buildings. Nope, you can't come in here. And they're almost in gunfights. They're almost in a shooting war. But the bad guy Taliban know that they can't engage the good guy Taliban no matter what.
Because it's a higher ranking Taliban.
Well, it's just Muslim against Muslim, and they're all recognized as Taliban.
Yeah.
And the government that's taken over is the Taliban
from Pakistan.
Yeah. And those are the guys, and they know, okay, well, that's a line we can't cross. And I can't go too much. We shouldn't go into too much more detail on that, other than to say those guys were actually protecting Americans, but the Afghans, those guys were toast.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to get in, and we were slowly feeding through, and just so many conflicting messages from the State Department, and be here this time. And then nothing would happen, nothing would open, and people are waiting in line in the middle of the night. Americans trying to get in with blue passports can't get in. Meanwhile, my friend Stefan Nedkov, South African guy, and his organization, they're moving 800 people a day. Must be 2 full buses in the morning, 2 full buses from into Abbey Gate from this hotel, which we won't mention. And they're working like a clock. Amazing work by those guys. And other corporations, other companies are calling them. He actually got called, I believe he said, by maybe the chief of staff of the British Army, asking them like, "Hey, who are you? who are you guys?" Because they're the only ones who've cracked, because they've already planned it. I learned a lot from them and how I do things with Dynamo, because I talked to them afterwards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we already had a plan. We'd already tested it and rehearsed it." So when I took over as director of operations in July last year for Dynamo, and I'd always been a volunteer. All the stuff Dynamo did, I'd been volunteering to help. I was loosely connected to them from the very, very beginning. And one of the groups that I was in became Dynamo. Sorry, we're finally, however long we're in, we're finally talking about Dynamo.
Yeah. So real quick, what happens with John? And then we'll jump into Dynamo.
So John, we finally so he's helping everybody get out.
Yeah. Even after getting into a gunfight and having to break contact.
I think our personal numbers of things that he and I did was between 12 and 1,300 people that we got out.
Okay.
Which is, I'm very, very proud of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very, very proud of that. And so through our connected, like I remember this one guy, he just could not get him through. This one guy, I guess he had some cognitive issues, and he had a colostomy bag, and we got him to the gate like 3 different times. Finally got that guy through. I hope he's doing well. I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but God love him, man. I can't figure out why he would be there, but some people are dedicated. I think he was working for an NGO.
Like U.S. citizen.
US
These are all
citizen.
U.S. citizens that you guys got out.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of Afghans out, too.
Yeah.
Total number was I'm very, very proud of that.
Sure.
So he got out, I think, on one of the last aircraft on that last night that people were leaving.
And then from all of everything you did in Afghanistan during the fall of Afghanistan, is that where the idea of Project Dynamo came from? And what is Dynamo? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so Project Dynamo, I'm all over the place, and it's just stream of consciousness, right? So I was asked to remind everybody that Project Dynamo is a 501c3. We survive on donations from Americans, and the people who donate allow us to evacuate Americans. To date, it's around 7,300 people that we've rescued or evacuated in 4 years, which is a very, very respectable number. And I'm not Project Dynamo. It's not about me. It's not the Mike Dinesman show. It's Project Dynamo. And I never, ever, as humble as I am as an SF guy, that I barely made it through all that, I'm the same with Dynamo. I'm very, very humble about what we do, and it's a Project Dynamo thing, and it's not me.
Sure.
It's all people volunteering.
No, Project
and helping.
Dynamo, it sounds like it's a network and a web of people from our community that help rescue. It's not just Americans, but anyone that is stuck.
So when we do low level, like 2, 3, 4 people, almost always those are Americans.
Okay.
But when we do evacuations, like what happened in Ukraine or Sudan or Israel, then we don't care.
So you guys Project Dynamo has operated in Israel, in Sudan.
31 countries? 31 countries have done evacuations or rescues. 31 tremendous effort. And it's not...
And you said over 7,000 people you guys have rescued.
Like something like 7,300 people.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so last August is when I got hired. I talked with the CEO, and we went to Israel to start forming a plan, because we said, where are the places we're going to go? So Ukraine was it's unstable but stable, right? Mm-hmm. There's still planes flying in and out, but we knew the Israel problem after October 7th.
Yeah.
They shut down airspace. Everything shut down, kind of like 9/11 for the
once
US.
Again, me being me, I got a bunch of calls and texts, hey, can you get a plane into Israel?
Yeah, and so that's one of the changes of how we decided we're going to do business. I'm going to build a plan now for when we have to go into Israel to do evacuations. And we executed the plan that we built. Very, very proud of that. Like just under 300 people we got out, helped more than 1,500 people through the effort in whatever it was, 9 days, 8 days, 9 days. And I was there, I think, on the 15th or 16th of June. And again, very little sleep. Don't remember very much. Just remember getting it done. I'm on the bus, escorting people to the border. I'm texting people to get them manifested for the next day. I'm talking parents off the edge, explaining who we are, that we know what we're doing, and that we're performing the plan that I'd already built, and we already have everything in place. I've already seen the airport. Like it's, and to say it may be very specific, There's a lot of Jewish people who are very nervous about going to Muslim countries if they've never been there.
Sure.
And I can understand that, especially if they're from the United States and they go straight to Israel and then they leave, right? But I've been to Jordan several times, and Jordanians are wonderful, and I love Jordan, and it's a great place, and the people are wonderful. And when I landed in Jordan, because that's where I flew into Jordan, all these people are looking at me like, "Wow, what are you doing here? Like this is a puzzle piece that isn't fitting, right?"
Yeah.
'Cause I don't disappear anywhere.
Yeah.
There's nowhere I go that I don't stick out.
Yeah.
And so I explained, "Hey, I'm here. We're gonna go, evacuate people, and I don't care who they are. Well, we're gonna go evacuate people." And I get some looks like for the immigration guy, and I said, "We started in Afghanistan, and we got out thousands of Muslims. I don't care what anybody's religion is. It's not about that. It's about helping people. That's what we're here to do." And looked at me like totally surprised, stamped my passport, said thanks. The cab driver that took me to the border to cross over, that guy loved the story so much, he actually gave me his prayer beads. He's praying within the car as he's driving. He gave me his prayer beads and said, "This is God's work that you're doing. This is amazing. Thank you." It was just, that's kind of like the reception we get everywhere we go. Is people recognize, I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. We're going to figure out what we got to do to help you.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds like you've taken a lot of the skill set and tradecraft that we learn as SF guys and applied it to continuing to help people, right? It's the same SF mission and the motto of De Oppresso Liber, to free the oppressed, right?
Absolutely.
You're doing site surveys and mapping stuff out in country X that maybe there isn't a conflict there just yet, but it's heating up. And when it happens, you're able to kind of break out that plan and say, "Guys, we already know where to go."
Yeah, we're leaning forward and we're anticipating. And a lot of times, you have to react because you can't anticipate everything. But you show up, but you have a place to begin.
Yeah.
You have something to start with. From rapport building to decentralizing, allowing people to make decisions, allowing people to make mistakes, and just more focused on how do we help the people who need help, and how do we, and one of the most important things I already knew, but you relearn things, is when everybody's in panic and you show up and you're calm and you show up, you're physically present, right? And you demonstrate calm to all the people who are in a panic, everybody calms down.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's hard for those people to remain in a panic phase when they look at you and you put your arm on their shoulder and you talk to them in a nice, calm, kind of quiet voice. And you explain, here's where we're going next. Here's the people we're seeing. Here's what's going to happen. We'll be able to get some food and some beverages there. And then we're going to be 45 minutes and we're going to walk over there. Because I've already done it, right? I'm not going to, and I tell them, I'm not asking you to do anything I haven't already done. And I know I'm different, right? I'm a man in this environment, and, I'm kind of a big guy, big old fat dude. But I'm not going to ask you to do something I haven't already done.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take you somewhere that's dangerous. And so that's what Dynamo does, is we get people to the first safe and secure location, and their onward travel becomes their responsibility. Unless somebody shows up with a plane or a boat or whatever, and then we can, that effort gets them back into the United States. But otherwise, we get them to the first safe and secure location. And then they're responsible for that onward travel piece. But we won't leave people. Like, there's some of the reports, I don't know if they're true. I don't care if they're true. None of it's important to me. But other organizations were just taking busloads of people and just dropping them off at the airport and said, "Here you go." But they didn't have flights. They didn't have anywhere to stay. Who knew if they had money to go stay in hotels? Nobody knew any of that. So we were treating every individual and making sure that when we picked them up, that their flights were coordinated. We got them to the airport at a time where they could make their flight, or get them to a hotel where it was close enough where they were safe and they could get to the airport. So we ensured 100% success rate.
So what are some other places on the globe that you guys have been mapping out that you think that you'll be busy at next?
So Haiti's a big one.
Well, Haiti, I feel like, has already turned into a shit show.
Yeah, so there's some effort to kind of repair that, but there's a lot of lack of control out in the small villages where a lot of the missionaries are at. And so we're paying special attention to that. And we get requests. One of the problems with that is those situations where we're moving a family. Those do have to be validated as Americans and have passports and all clean records, and it's not always the case. And so we have to wait for. It's terrible. It's very, very stressful and nail-biting kind of situations. But we can't do anything for people in that situation unless they're ready to move to the United States and they have all their clean paperwork.
Yeah.
We're very, very, because otherwise we could be trafficking children, all that. We don't take any of those risks. It has to be 100% verified and validated that they're legally able to travel before we go get them. But we did a very successful rescue of a small family with a sick child and a sick mother.
Out of Haiti.
Flew in, got them out.
Nice.
Yeah, 12 hours I think it was.
If people want to find more about Dynamo, or if they need help and to reach out to Dynamo, or even just to donate, where can they find more information?
So projectdynamo.net, we're on the web. So just look up projectdynamo.net and all the information there from registering. And one of the things I'd like to plug is if you know you're going to go on travel and it's somewhere where there's been conflict, doesn't matter where, but you can pre-register and put all your information in already, and just there's a spot for notes, and just say we're traveling now. If anything happens, we want you to have this information, because it really is a first come first serve. The first people who are on that list in the manifest, as we go through, those are the first people we call. And so, I mean, the same thing is, do you have a paper copy and a digital copy of your passport before you travel and you go to a foreign country? Like most people who travel a lot know to do that.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that with us. You can pre-register and lodge yourself in for that travel, for that very occurrence. And so we're ready to go for you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff you can do. And we're trying to shift a little bit into preparedness. So we went into to Burnsville in North Carolina, which is north of Asheville, after the floods.
Yeah.
And we did some work there, and we supported some of the taskings from the SF Charitable Trust, the Special Forces Charitable Trust. I did some work. We were doing work already, but we just did some coordination with those guys, and it was great. They're a great organization, and would perform for them. We did the same thing in Florida afterwards. So we basically did we got done with the Asheville mission, and then 5 days later, I'm on my way to Florida for the Milton flood. And I would say Florida was much better prepared, but we still helped out and did a lot of work in Florida. And then we prepared for Israel, and after the rockets and the missiles and everything, we started getting requests. And so I was like, okay, I'm on my way, and went and we just started executing that plan with great success. And then we got back to the United States, and 4 days later I go to Kerrville then we flew into Kerrville to support that mission there. So we've been busy, and it's great work, and I love what I do with it.
No, it's awesome. And you're probably not going to be slowing down anytime soon in terms of helping people that are in areas of conflict.
So right now I'm in the middle of building a very, very ambitious rescue and evacuation plan that I'm not ready to talk about. But if it's required for us to perform that, it'll be gruesome, but I want to make sure that we're prepared. And if we don't have to do it, then great, right? Yeah. But better to have a plan that we can execute from and modify, and then take that plan. We can take that plan anywhere else afterwards, So we focused on first conflicts, and I started to identify conflict areas that are habitual. And I'm loosely connected to Dave Eubank from the Free Burma Rangers. And I've spoken to him several times through my friend Chris at GBNT Network, which is funny because he renamed the Green Beret Nap Time joke into his own foundation and 501c3. And Chris is a great guy. Chris and I were platoon leaders together in the infantry. And so we're just all of us trying to do the same mission, help people and perform the mission of Americans helping Americans and getting Americans out when they're in trouble. But we don't care if we're going to do a mass evacuation. It doesn't matter. We'll help you get out. We don't care where you're from.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Listen, Mike, this has been awesome learning more about Dynamo, and especially with the timing of everything, 4-year anniversary of the fall of Afghanistan.
Yeah, crazy that the timing worked out that way.
Yeah.
It's almost to the day.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly. So, dude.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again.